So today we're going to talk about the Home Purchase Assistance Program, also known as HPAP. HPAP is a program facilitated by the Greater Washington Urban League for first-time homebuyers in Washington, D.C. The HPAP program provides buyers with a 40-year interest-free loan up to $80,000 as well as closing cost assistance, and can only be used for the purchase of residential real estate such as single-family houses, co-ops, and condominiums. Now, the HPAP loan operates separately from the loan that you'll get from your mortgage lender, meaning that you'll receive one loan from your bank for the acquisition or purchase of the property, and you'll receive another loan from Greater Washington Urban League for your down payment and closing costs. Okay, let's get into the numbers. Now, qualified HPAP applicants can receive up to $84,000 in financial assistance. You'll get $80,000 for your down payment and $4,000 specifically for closing costs. It's a sliding scale, so the more money you make, the less money that you'll receive. For example, you can qualify for the full $84K if you're a household of one making $42,000 or less, a household of two making $48,000 or less, a household of three making $54,000 or less, or a household of four making $60,000 or less. It's important to note, however, that there is a purchase limit when you're using the program. So you can't use HPAP to purchase $1 million home, but you can use it to purchase a $500,000 home. Right now, the loan limit for lenders when you're using the HPAP program is about $484,000, meaning that your loan can exceed that amount. Remember, this is an interest-free loan, meaning it does have to be paid back. For moderate income households, the payment on the loan is deferred for the first 5 years. So payments will begin starting year 6, and it's amortized over a 40-year period. Now, for lower income households, there are no payments on the loan at all. Now, regardless of household income, the entire loan becomes payable under these conditions. 1, if the borrower transfers the property out of their name. 2, under certain circumstances when the property is refinanced. Or 3, when the property ceases to become that borrower's primary residence. Now that you guys know a little bit about the HPAP program, let's talk about the qualifications. To be eligible for HPAP, you must be the head of your household, you must be a first-time home buyer, and you must have at least a 640 credit score. Now, you also must meet the income guidelines, which right now is maxed out at about $94,000 for a household of one, $106,000 for a household of two, $120,000 for a household of three, and $133,000 for a household of four. Now, it's also important to note that you cannot have any ownership interest in residential real estate for the prior 3 years of you applying to HPAP. Now, the property itself does have to be the borrower's primary residence. Now, to qualify for HPAP, you don't have to be a resident of DC, but you do have to purchase a property within DC. Now, HPAP does require recipients to contribute $500 to the transaction or 50% of liquid assets greater than $3,000. Now, whichever is higher, that's what they're going to ask you to contribute to the transaction. Okay, now I want to give you guys the 7 steps to a successful HPAP transaction. Now, step number 1 is to reach out to a community-based organization who's going to set you up for a pre-application housing counseling session. It's about a 2-hour home buying course that's going to give you an overview of the buying process and what to expect when it comes to HPAP. The 4 community-based organizations in Washington, D.C. are going to be Lydia's House, Housing Counseling Services, the Latino Economic Development Center, and University Legal Services. These are the organizations that you want to reach out to sign up for the pre-orientation class. Now, step 2 is to gather all the HPAP documentation that is requested by your housing counselor and to submit a formal application for HPAP. Step 3 is to attend an 8-hour class. Now, this is mandatory in order to close for HPAP. You do have to attend an 8-hour class. I highly suggest that you attend the class before you go out and start looking at homes. The classes do fill up quick, so you're going to save yourself a lot of headache by getting it done before you're actually under contract for a home. And the class certificate is good for 1 year. Now, step 4, when your application is approved by Greater Washington Urban League, you're going to receive what's called a notice of eligibility. Now, the notice of eligibility is going to indicate the amount of financial assistance that Greater Washington Urban League is going to give you to the transaction. It's also going to give you the qualifying price range for your new house. So step 5, find a house, condominium, or co-op and enter into a purchase sales agreement. At this point, you've already hired your real estate agent and your mortgage lender, and you guys are working together to find a home that's right for you. Once you find that perfect home and you go under contract, you want to forward that agreement to Greater Washington Urban League. At this point forward, any documentation that's relevant to the contract, you want to make sure that all that information is passed on not only to the community-based organization that you're working with, but also to Greater Washington Urban League. Now, for all HPAP transaction, it is mandatory to have a home inspection and a termite inspection. Now, what's important about the home inspection is that if the home inspector were to go out to the home and find any safety issues with the home, it is required, and there's addendum in the contract that says this, that you do have to provide to the seller ahead of time. It is required that the seller make any repairs to any safety issues that the home inspector finds with regards to the property. Now, this is important because this is why HPAP transactions won't work for foreclosures, REOs, bank-owned properties, because those are typically sold as is, and if a home inspector were to go out and find a safety issue that needs to be repaired, we know ahead of time that they're not going to make any repairs to the property. Step 6 is complete your mortgage application. That's going to take place around the same time as step 5, because once you go under contract, that's when you begin the mortgage application with the lender. Ideally, at this point, you've already been working with your lender for some time, so they have your notice of eligibility and they know how much you're receiving from HPAP already. We want to start the mortgage application so the underwriter who works for the bank has enough time to do their due diligence and fully approve you for the mortgage. So step 7 takes place at closing. We're going to sign the loan documents, the title documents, and complete the transfer of ownership. Now, prior to us going to closing, we're going to have the home inspector go back and re-inspect the property. We want to make sure that everything that we had negotiated with the seller to repair was taken care of. At this point, the home inspector is going to provide us a sheet saying that the property has passed the inspection. We give that over to the community-based organization that we're working with, as well as Greater Washington Urban League. And then from there, they're going to give us a clear to close. With all transactions prior to closing, either the day before or day of, we're going to do a final walkthrough, meaning we're just going to walk through the property and make sure that it was in the same condition as it was during the home inspection, that it's clean, it's broom swept, and that there's no damage done to the property. And those are your 7 steps to a successful HPAP transaction. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you have any questions about HPAP or any of the first-time home buyer programs in DC, Maryland, or Virginia, give me a call, shoot me an email, or comment below. Thanks.